Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the EMS World Expo and the Las Vegas Convention Center. I'm Scott Allison. I'll be your MC for this demonstration. I am the former Public Information Officer for the Clark County Fire Department here in Las Vegas. You are seated in one of the finest convention centers in the country, very unique to Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Convention Center is the only convention center in the nation that has a fire station and a police station on property. So convention attendees are always in safe hands. We are so happy that all of you, being professionals, are here today. Obviously, you care about what you do in your daily work activities. So thank you for being here, and give yourself a round of applause. Today, we are creating a scenario that happens way too often in this country, in large cities and small town America. We have all seen those stories on the news and possibly even responded to this type of call of an active shooter, for whatever reason, has walked into a school, shopping mall, or place of business, or place of employment, and begins shooting at innocent victims. It takes highly trained personnel to respond and handle a call of this nature. In the Las Vegas area, every law enforcement and fire agency are trained to deal with an active shooter or hostile situation. Today, we will show you how law enforcement activate the MACTAC, or the Multiple Assault Counterterrorism Action Capabilities Team, and how our local fire personnel operate under the Southern Nevada Fire Operations Hostile MCI policy. Las Vegas law enforcement agencies have been trained in MACTAC responses and capabilities. Teams are assembled and deployed to immediately address an active shooter, hostage, or siege situation in conjunction with responding to tactical teams. All the teams are trained to engage and mitigate a hostile situation as soon as possible. Today's agencies include the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the North Las Vegas Police Department, the Henderson Police Department, the Nevada Highway Patrol, as well as our University Police at UNLV, the Clark County School District Police Department, and Nellis Air Force Base. The Southern Nevada Fire Operations Hostile MCI policy, it's designed to complement the MACTAC teams. The goal is to quickly assess, treat, and transport victims of a hostile situation. The most common injuries sustained from an active shooter event are tension pneumothorax, airway difficulties, extensive bleeding, or hemorrhaging. The goal is to treat and transport victims within a 30-minute period for survival. Fire agencies are trained under the Southern Nevada Fire Operations Hostile MCI policy. Those agencies include the Clark County Fire Department, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, North Las Vegas Fire, Henderson Fire Department, as well as Nellis Air Force Base. Some of the terminologies you're going to hear during today's demonstration: Force Protection Team. This is the team. Their primary objective is to sort victims in the warm zone under law enforcement protection. Sorting is the process of determining the order in which victims will be removed from the warm zone. The transfer teams. Teams assembled to remove patients from the warm zone to the triage, treatment, and transport area. The hot zone. Basically, the hot zone is where the shooter or a hostile is still actively continuing his rampage. The warm zone is where Las Vegas, or law enforcement rather, have passed through that area, have swept the area for hostile threats. Personnel should operate under the pretense that a threat is not expected but cannot be ruled out completely. Casualty collection points and dirty areas are examples of areas located within the warm zone. Before we get started, we would like to once again offer hearing protection at the back of the door if you are hearing sensitive. It will be loud in here. Also, I'd like to point out, if you are sensitive to this type of demonstration, we will give you time to get up and leave the room at this time. This is a real-life scenario that unfortunately it just might happen that each and every one of us might have to deal with during our careers. As professionals, I ask you, please do not share any of today's demonstration with the social media. With that being said, I would like to remind you, after the video portion of our demonstration will continue in this room with our actors and our role players. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you very much for your attention. Let's roll the video. As our scenario begins, we find Ken Smith, who is a longtime employee for a large company. Mr. Smith is no different than you and me. He's a loving husband, father of 3 children with 1 on the way. He has a mortgage, car payment, and other bills and responsibilities. Ken Smith has just been called to his supervisor's office, where he is told that due to past poor work performance, the company is letting him go. He is no longer employed.
This is making it very difficult on me. I wish there was something more I could do.
Leaving the supervisor's office in total shock and angered by the news, he exits the building to the parking lot. As he walks toward his vehicle, he feels his world crumbling down. He is overcome with anger and despair. When he arrives at his vehicle, rather than leaving, he opens his trunk and pulls out a semi-automatic rifle and returns to the building. He enters the building through the company restaurant, where numerous employees are enjoying their lunch break. Once inside, he raises the rifle to his shoulder and begins to fire randomly into the crowd, hitting several people. Mr. Smith has just become an active shooter or hostile.
Fire and medical, what is the location of the emergency?
Hello? There's a shooter.
As the crowd scatters in panic with nowhere to run, others are lying dead or wounded. Some employees have the presence of mind to call 911.
Okay, we have fire and law enforcement on the way now.
As emergency 911 calls begin to come into the dispatch center, units from the police and fire departments are given the call to respond.
Stab or gunshot wound. Level.
Due to the information given by callers, this is now a MAC-TAC response. Without knowing the severity or the size of the incident, as well as the number of casualties, units from every local agency are dispatched. The shooter, or hostile, continues his rampage. Shooting anyone in his path as he makes his way through the building. Outside, units arrive and immediately set up a unified command center. While being briefed by company security. A MAC-TAC strike team is quickly put into action, as well as force protection and transfer teams. As the strike team or MAC-TAC team approaches the building, a perimeter is set up around the building with all exits covered by multiple agency law enforcement officers. The strike team enters the building in search of the shooter. At the same time, they advise the command post of numerous victims and which areas can be considered warm zones, safe for the force protection team and fire department paramedics to enter. The shooter continues to make his way through the building, killing and wounding his co-workers and innocent bystanders.
Coming up on the curb. Rear, are we up? Rear, are we up?
The shooter is still at large. As our shooter makes his way through the building, our strike team 1 enters to pursue our suspect. As they pass through, they radio back to the command post the number of casualties that they have received in the hot zone as they pass through and push the suspect out to another part of the area or the building. This is now a warm zone with our victims. Just a reminder, there have been 84 active shooter incidents reported in the United States between the years 2000 and 2010. As you can tell, the strike team continues to pursue our active shooter or hostile. Now, Force Protection 1, law enforcement and fire department personnel and paramedics enter the warm zone to triage, treat, and prepare for transport our victims. The average incident lasts 12 minutes, 30% last less than 5 minutes. As the force protection teams spread out to protect our paramedics as they treat our victims. Each victim will be checked out, sorted. They will receive a tag. That lets our paramedics know which ones are walking wounded, which ones are critical, and which victims are deceased. We now have a second force protection team that enters the building to assist the first force protection team, creating a safer area for that warm zone as we can treat our victims of this active shooter. What they encounter during the treatment of these victims is compressible hemorrhages, tension pneumothorax or a sucking chest wound, and compromised airways. Time is of the essence. The first 30 minutes of an active shooter incident are very critical. Injuries incurred from an active shooter must be addressed within this time period to help ensure a favorable outcome. Commonly found injuries, as I said, are the compressible hemorrhages, tension pneumothorax, and comprised airways. The transfer teams have now entered the warm zone. These are the teams that will pick up the severely wounded, take them to a further triage area, and get them ready to transport to local hospitals and facilities. They must move as quickly as possible without endangering the victims any further to get them out of the warm zone to the triage area, prepare them for transport. As you can see, even though this has been classified a warm zone by the MACTAC team, it is still considered a very dangerous area until all have been cleared from the area itself. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our actors today, our role players. Honey, you can get up now. Great job by all the agencies here today, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for them. I don't know if we could get any more real than what you just saw. Obviously, it's got to make you stop and think as EMS professionals, law enforcement, whatever your career happens to be. We know that these scenarios are real. These are the times that we live in. That's why it's so important here in Southern Nevada that our law enforcement agencies and our fire personnel are highly trained for these type of scenarios. Thank goodness we have not had a true life scenario of this nature in Las Vegas, but who's to say that it couldn't happen in the future? One thing we wanted to point out, as you see on the screen, our paramedics, when they walk into a scenario like this, they do carry the hostile MCI kit. It's a standard hostile MCI kits. They're placed on every fire apparatus with all the agencies here in Nevada. And of course, they include tourniquets, pressure bandage, gauze rolls, decompression needles, chest seals, nasal airways, emergency warming blankets, a south side leader, stethoscope, shears, gloves, eye, hearing protection, and sorting tags.